we good here? Okay. We are on page 45, chapter 11, Perek Yud Aleph. Page 45, chapter 11. Page 30, if you want, on it, if it's in the top, 45 in the bottom. Okay? Let's start in 1 second. Okay. So let's start. Up to now, we learned about the Tzadikim. Two types of Tzadikim. We know there are two types of Tzadikim, two types of Reshaim, and a Beinoni, which we're not quite sure, which we're going to find out exactly what a Beinoni is next time. So two types of Tzadikim, two types of Reshaim and Beinoni. The two types of Tzadikim really doesn't concern us much because we don't know any of these guys. We've never experienced, you never met one. Maybe you've heard about some people, but you can't even imagine. It's a person who never thought a wrong thought. Forget about he never did a wrong deed. He never wanted to do a wrong deed. He didn't have the will. He doesn't have the will to sin. He only has the will to serve God. The difference between them, between a tzaddik, a complete tzaddik and an incomplete tzaddik, is in the amount of attachments he wants to serve God. One is with ultimate attachment and the other one is 99%. But it's not ultimate. That's the only difference between them. They don't want to sin. They don't want to go against God. That's the difference between them. Today, we're going to get introduced to the Rasha. Now, translating the word Rasha triggers everybody. The reason why it triggers everybody because Rasha translated to English means wicked, means bad, means nunu, not a good guy. You're going to find out that the Rasha is an excellent guy. It's a very good guy. So we need to understand why do we call him a Rasha? If he's such a good guy, but a Rasha is what we say, this is a good guy, yes.
Just going back to the Tzadik. Is a Tzadik considered a perfect person? Are they absolutely perfect?
A complete Tzad in action?
They're absolutely perfect.
In action?
What else is there?
Thought?
Well, I thought the complete Tzadik is in action and thought. I thought the complete Tzadik...
Both of them. Both of them are in action and thought.
But I thought the complete Tzadik has no bad thought. They're perfect in thought and action.
So does the incomplete.
But it's 99%.
When I say 99%, then 1% that he's got not, you can say that it's not perfect, is completely subservient. He's not, he doesn't ever, he's not aware of it. He has no clue that it's there.
But it's a perfect person in action and thought.
In everything.
Absolutely perfect.
Thought, speech, and action. Okay? And emotions and intellect. Not just in thought, speech, and action. And both of them. By the way, we're going to find out next week, a Beinoni is also perfect in action, not in thought. And when we say we're not in thought, I'll explain what I'm saying soon in this chapter. So let's start. So after we discussed in the previous chapter the Tzadikim, chapter 11 is going to start with the Rasha. Again, don't get triggered. We're going to use the word Rasha now, from now on. Don't translate it to wicked because it's the wrong translation. Rasha is a state. It's a condition where a person is, and we're going to see what it is. Perek Yud Aleph, chapter Yud Aleph. Veze l'umat ze, and God created this against this, opposite of that one. Rasha ve-tovlo. We're going to get introduced to the Rasha and good to him, a Rasha and good to him, Leumat Tzadik vera lo. We're going to compare him to the righteous person and bad to him, to the incomplete righteous person. Like we said, the FDA, says he's a complete tzaddik. Even though there's a minuscule amount of garbage inside of him. How much? That you can't even find. It takes a microscope to actually look and find this. He's not even aware of it. That's how much. Dehainu. I don't know. We'll discuss the Rebbe is probably Tzadik Gamon, a complete Tzadik. Okay? Dehainu, shehatov shebenafsho ha'elokit. What does it mean? It means you've got good inclination and you've got bad inclination. You've got the godly soul and you got the animal soul. That the good that is in the godly soul, shebemocho, he thinks about God. He contemplates God. Ubachalal hayemini shebelibo, and in the right ventricle in his heart, also when it comes to emotions about God, kafuf ubatel legabei hara. It is nullified to the side of the evil, to the side of the bad. Mehaklipa, from the klipa, shebechalal asmali, that is in the left ventricle. So just like we said about a tzaddik is ruled by his godly soul completely. The animal soul is not involved at all in the psyche of the tzaddik. The rasha is exactly the opposite. He's got a godly soul, but it's completely encompassed and nullified to the animal soul. וזה מתחלק גם כן לרבבות מדרגות. And by a rasha, we have tens and thousands of levels. It's not just one level. We've got tens of thousands of levels. חלוקות בעניין כמות ואיכות. And this level has to do with quantity and quality of how much evil the guy has. The quantity can be a lot, or the quality can be a lot. וכפיפת הטוב לרע. And how much the good is nullified to the evil. Chas v'shalom, God forbid. Let's see. יש מי, there are somebody, שהכפיפה והביטול אצלו מעט מזער, that it is nullified only a tiny bit. Let's explain. When I say it's nullified only a little bit, so what do you imagine in your brain? Imagine a very religious Jew. Extremely religious, the most religious person you know. Not just religious in outward garments, also in inward garments. Yeah? Imagine that guy. He is considered a rasha. Why? Because the good is nullified to the bad. What does it mean? Does he kill? Does he steal? Does he embarrass people in public? Never. He would never do such a thing. It is a little bit it does. What does he have? For example, let's say he sometimes speak not really Lashon Hara, just a touch of Lashon Hara. Yeah? A touch of Lashon Hara he speaks once in a while. How much? ואף גם זאת אינו בתמידות. He doesn't do it like regular people. You know, regular people like us, you ask, how much do we speak Lashon Hara? And the answer is every time we open our mouth. That's the amount. And for sure we listen. So he... Wait. We'll see. We'll see. We'll talk about it soon. It's a good question. And even that, he doesn't do it constantly. ולא תדיר לפרקים קרובים. He doesn't talk Lashon Hara or a smidge of Lashon Hara very often. אלא לעתים רחוקים. It happens once a year, maybe twice a year by him, maybe once in 10 years it happens. מתגבר הרע על הטוב. The Ra overcomes the good, וכובש את העיר קטנה, and is able to conquer the body. And is able to conquer the body. הוא הגוף. And when he conquers the body, God forbid, he's going to do an act. We're not going to talk about somebody who's doing an act. אך לא כולו, אלא מקצתו לבד. He only conquers a little bit of the body. שיהיה שר למשמעותו. That he will be listening to his commands. ונעשה לו מרכבה ולבוש. And he's going to make it into a chariot. The evil side. ולבוש, and a garment. להתלבוש בו אחד משלושה לבושיה. To get dressed in one of the three garments. Thought, speech, or action. This is a very important point that I need to explain right now. See, when we talk about thought, it doesn't mean that a bad thought doesn't come into his mind. We're going to find out that if you're not a tzaddik, you don't have choice. Bad thoughts are going to come into your mind. If you're saying to yourself, me, it doesn't happen to you, you're lying to yourself. And that's the worst thing to do. Bad thoughts comes to his mind. So if bad thoughts comes to his mind, then what do you want him to do about it? If it's not under his control. We're not talking about when the bad thought drops into your mind. As soon as the bad thought drops into your mind, as soon as the person thinks, oh, I should steal his money, you should push that thought away. I'll give you an example. You drive down the highway, right? And over here in Tucson, it's very hot. And there's a lot of ladies who are running, exercising on the path down the highway. And unfortunately today, they wear a bra and underpants, when they run. There's not really clothing on much of them, right? So when you drive down the highway and the thought, oh, that looks nice, come into your head, nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with, oh, that looks nice. But, oh, that looks nice, that's already a problem. Why? Because now you're actively thinking. See, now you have a choice. You didn't have a choice when it popped into your mind, that looks nice. But now comes the choice. The choice is, this is not your wife, you shouldn't be thinking about it. Put your mind where it's supposed to be. So the popping of it is not a problem. Actively, when it says thought, it means actively thinking. Actively thinking. You know when you scroll on your phone and an advertisement of Lashon Hara comes out, that the fact that, I want to press it, that's not a problem. If you press it and look at it, now that's the problem. The wanting to press some Lashon Hara is not the problem. It's the active doing it. Okay? So it comes to one of the three garments, dehainu, או במעשה לבד, either in action alone, and we're not talking about action is going to kill somebody, is going to steal, is going to hit somebody in the face. We're talking about somebody who speaks a little bit Lashon Hara, or not even Lashon Hara, smidgen. לעשות עבירות קלות, to do tiny little sins, ולא חמורות חס ושלום. We're not talking about bad sins. Let's take an example. Eating before Havdalah. I don't know if you guys know the rule, but there's a rule that after Shabbos, one is not to eat before he does Havdalah. So a person ate before Havdalah. Okay. Yeah? That's an example. That's what happens. And it doesn't happen to this guy every week after Shabbos. It happened to him once in 10 years. That's what we're talking about.
But that's not thoughts. That's
an act.
A forbidden act.
An act. Yeah. Or, we're going to see, או בדיבור לבד. Or it was speech. For example, לדבר אבק לשון הרע. To speak, not even real לשון הרע. A smidgen. A dust. It calls it a dust of לשון הרע. It hints. There's a smell of לשון הרע in his speech. Veleitzanut, or he's just being a joker, just for fun. He's being a joker. Once in 10 years. Vechahai gavna, and similar manner. Or b'machshava levad, or not even in action, in thought. And here we're going to come to get introduced to a new concept. Hirhurei avera kashim me'avera. Thinking about a sin is worse than the sin. So let me explain what we're talking about here. I'll tell you a story, and the story pretty much is going to explain it. But I will explain it is also after the story. The story goes like this. This is the 1800s in Russia, in Poland. It's two religious yeshiva bachers are standing in the side of a river. You know, it's a muddy river. It's low, but it's muddy. The river is flowing. And they're supposed to pass the river to the other side. Two yeshiva bachers, 16 years old. All of a sudden, comes like a 15-year-old girl with a nice dress, a Shabbos dress. She also wants to pass the river. So one of them, she looks at them, they look at her, she looks at them, they look at her. One of them says, forget about it. He goes up to her, picks her up in his arms. The other guy's Joe, you can imagine, the yeshiva bacher picking up a girl. He goes like this, and he carries it across the river so she doesn't get dirty on the river, on the mud, and he puts her on the other side. Then his friend comes around, she goes her way, and they go their own way, the two guys. And his friend, he says, do you know what you did? Do you know what you did? You just touched a girl. You know what the Rosh Yeshiva is going to say about it? Do you know this? Do you know? And for the next hour, as they're walking to Yeshiva, that's all he hears. Do you know what you do? Do you know what you are? Do you know what this? Do you know what that? So after an hour, the guy can't take anymore. So he tells his friend, he says, do you know what's the difference between me and you? So you ask him, what's the difference? He says, I left her on the other side of the river. You are still carrying her until now. Yeah? So it's true that the one guy did this so-called sin. Yeah? He wasn't supposed to touch a woman, he touched a woman. Yeah? But the thinking about it can be much worse than that. Let me ask you another question, you don't have to answer me. And there's no right and wrong answers over here. There's no right and wrong answers. But just think about the connotation of the two systems. There are two guys. Two guys. One of them is very dedicated to his wife, very dedicated to his family. Very dedicated. He loves his wife, he loves his family. He's a great husband, he's a great father. One time he's on a business trip to Vegas, and he gets a little bit tipsy, and something happens with some lady over there in Vegas. Whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. He feels terrible afterwards. He really is distraught about the fact that he just sinned. Right? So in other words, he's a rasha. He sinned. Another scenario. There's a guy who married John Gotti's daughter. You know, John Gotti, the mafia boss. He married her daughter. And John Gotti comes to him on the wedding night and he tells him, if my daughter ever cries because of you, you're done. That you're done. That's it. You know that. You're done. Now, that person is never going to sin. He's never going to do the act to go against his daughter because he's afraid of John Gotti. But every woman that he meets, he undresses her in his mind. He's never going to do the act. But he's going to undress every woman in his mind. The question is, if you're the wife, which husband do you want? The one that never sins or the one that actually sinned? In other words, you can see over here how thought, just thinking about it, without the sin, might even be worse than the sin itself. Yeah? So just think about it. You don't have to tell me what's preferable, what's over. There's advantage and disadvantage to both ways. One actually sinned, the other one never sinned.
But I thought you said just thinking about it.
Yeah, we're talking about a lower level over here.
It's like the first step.
Yeah.
It's carrying it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about a lower level over here, in my example. A level of, for let's say, call it as a non-Jew. Yeah, not about a Tzadik or a Rasha for us. A Rasha, just the thought is a sin. But you'll have to admit that just fantasizing about it and doing it, there's a big difference between them. There's even a saying, seeing is permitted, touching is not. Yeah, there's a saying like this. And there's a reason why there's a saying like this, right? And we discuss that also soon. So it will come up, your question. Okay, so that's what it says, הרהורי עבירה קשים מעבירה. It says, thinking about a sin is worse than sinning. וגם אם אינו מהרהר בעבירה לעשותה. Also, if a person is not thinking of sinning to do it, אלא בעניין זיווג זכר ונקבה בעולם. All he's thinking about this. This is what happened to the guy. Yeah? He's at work. He's supposed to do work now. That's what he's supposed to do. God sent him to work to make money, to do some work. And instead of doing work, he's thinking that he's going to come home tonight and he's going to be with his wife. That's it. We're not talking about somebody else's wife. We're talking about his own wife. Even that, yeah, it's a taking over of the evil inclination. Right now, you're not supposed to do that. Right now, you're supposed to work. The fact that you took time out to think about something that you were not supposed to do, when you're with your wife, yeah, think about it. Right now, you're not with your wife. Even though she's permitted, even that's a problem. שעובר על אזהרת התורה, that is transgressing on the prohibition of the Torah, ונשמרת מכל דבר רע, שלא ירהר ביום. He says he's not supposed to think about it during the day. We're going to discuss later on why, because men can have problems at night. So what? What's the big problem if you have a problem? Some other time. Or another example of a rasha ve-tovlo, שהיא שעת הכושר לעסוק בתורה. You have 2 minutes free time throughout the day. You had 2 minutes of free time throughout the day. והוא מפנה ליבו לבטלה. And instead of doing something, either a commandment, a mitzvah, helping somebody, or learning Torah, the person decided to scroll the internet. Yeah? כדתנן באבות, like it says in מסכת אבות, הניאור בלילה, somebody who is awake at night. If you're awake at night, what are you supposed to do? Learn Torah, obviously. הוא מפנה ליבו, instead of learning Torah, the person scrolls the internet or whatever, שבאחת מכל אלה וכיוצא בהם, in all these examples that we gave, נקרא רשע בעת ההיא. He's called רשע at that time. Why is he called רשע at that time? שהרע שבנפשו גובר בו, because the evil, the bad in his soul is strong by him, הוא מתלבש בגופו, and is able to take over the body. הוא מחטיאו, and then the guy sins. הוא מטמאו, and he makes him impure. But there's something happens. How do you know he's a rasha ve-tovlo? So why do we call him rasha ve-tovlo? He's a rasha ve-ralo maybe. So a lot of things a rasha ve-ralo is somebody who kills. A rasha ve-tovlo is somebody who speaks lashon hara. No. It doesn't matter what you do. When you go against God, a sin, whether it's small or big, qualifies a person to be a rasha. Again, don't get triggered by the word rasha. The qualification to be a rasha is if a person is able to sin. If he sins, he's a rasha. But he's got good in him. In other words, immediately after the sin, he feels regret. He says, I shouldn't have done it. I spoke lashon hara. For 10 years I didn't speak Lashon Hara. I missed. He feels guilty. That's a rasha vera. Rasha ve-tovlo. Rasha ve-tovlo has a feel of guilt. ואחר כך, גובר בו הטוב שבנפשו האלוקית. Then the good in the godly soul comes over, ומתחרט. The person has to do tshuva. In other words, he is sorry for what he did. הוא מבקש מחילה וסליחה מהשם, and he asks forgiveness from God. והשם יסלח לו, and God for sure will forgive him. אם שב בתשובה הראויה, if he did the correct tshuva. We're going to talk about the correct tshuva some other time. What does it mean, correct tshuva? Minimum amount of tshuva, just for now, the minimum amount of tshuva if it keeps you up at night. If it doesn't keep you up at night, you didn't do tshuva. You know, they say a lot of people are bal tshuva. I'm a bal tshuva. A lot of people say the statement, I'm a bal tshuva. They're probably not. I'll tell you why. Maybe some of them are. I'm not sure. So I'll speak about me. I'm so-called the bal tshuva. I ate non-kosher in my life before. Yeah? Can I say it keeps me up at night? Or did it ever keeps me up at night that I ate non-kosher? Some things maybe more than others. But I don't know. I spoke Lashon Hara. Does it keep me up at night that I spoke Lashon Hara? Sometimes maybe. Not really. No, it doesn't keep me up at night. So a person who spoke Lashon Hara and it doesn't keep him up at night, I don't know if he did tshuva. Because the minimum amount of tshuva is something that keeps you up at night. Yeah?
But for how long?
Until he feels complete with God, whatever that thing is. Al pi etzat chachamenu zal, according to the advice of our sages, בשלושה חלוקי כפרה, in 3 types of atonements. Again, we're not going to discuss it right now. The Tanya has another book because the Geret Tshuva. The whole book is called Tshuva. It's about that. Yes?
So there's 2 types of wicked.
We didn't discuss one of them yet. So wait. We're going to discuss them soon.
Okay.
שהיה רבי ישמעאל דורש, כמו שכתוב במקום אחר. That Rabbi Ishmael thought, like it says in another place. So the first Rasha, let's describe him, can be somebody who appears to us, not only to us, to himself, as a dedicated good guy, extremely good guy. One sin, I don't know how many years he sins, is also considered to be a Rasha. Somebody who sins every day falls into the same category. He's also a Rasha. Rasha ve-tovlo. Why do we call him good? Rasha and good to him? Because both of them have regret. The guy beats up his wife every day, and after that he's sorry every day. He's really sorry. He cries afterwards. He's a Rasha ve-tovlo. And the guy that spoke Lashon Hara once in 10 years is also a Rasha ve-tovlo. We put them back both in the same category. I know that one is a San Bernard and one is a Chihuahua. One is big and one is small, but they're both dogs. They're both from the same species. What's the species? Rasha ve-tovlo. Why are they Rasha ve-tovlo? Because they are able to sin, and they sin, and they do sin, and they have regret afterwards. And now he's going to go into the Rasha vera. Veyesh, and there are those, מי שהרע גובר בו יותר, somebody that the evil consumes him more, ומתלבשים בו כל 3 לבושים. And they dress not in only one of the garments, thought, speech, and action. They get dressed in all the garments. In other words, all day long, his thoughts, all day long, his speech, all day long, his actions are dominated by the evil inclination, are dominated by the animal soul. He's only taking care about himself. He doesn't think about God at all. של הרע, ומחטיאו בעבירות חמורות יותר. And the guy sins in very severe sins. And not just in very severe, we're talking about killing, rape, whatever you want to call. בעתים קרובים יותר. And not just once in a while. Not once in 10 years. We're talking about constant manner. Ach benatayim, but in between those sins that he does constantly, mitcharet. He does have regret. Uba'im lo hirhurei tshuva, and comes to him. He's not able to do tshuva. He doesn't do tshuva. But you ask him, do you want to be a good guy? He says, I want to be a good guy, but I can't come in front of God and tell him I'm not going to do it anymore. It's not happening. I know myself, I like it too much. I like to drink too much. I like to party too much. It's not happening. Do I like myself? No, I would like to change. This is called hirhurei tshuva. Thoughts about tshuva. He's not hirhur tshuva. He's thinking about tshuva constantly. In other words, it bothers him, his status. Why does it bother him? מבחינת הטוב שבנפשו. Because of the good that it's in his soul. שמתגבר קצת בינתיים. That once in a while, even though he constantly sin throughout the day, in all three, thought, speech, and action, constantly throughout the day, אלא שאין לו התגברות כל כך לנצח את הרע. And if you ask him, do you like yourself? I don't like myself. I'm just too weak. I don't have enough strength to do it. לפרוש מחטאיו לגמרי, to completely eliminate my sins completely. להיות מודה ועוזב, to be somebody that admits that I sinned and promising myself not to sin again. You know, let's take an example. Yeah, good example. But let's take an example from daily life and Yom Kippur. You know, in a regular day, when you mess up, you tell yourself, this is who I am. I don't know if I can change. Right? But on Yom Kippur, in a Ila, when you're in shul, and you think about that same thing, you say, you know what? I can do it. I can do it. This is the two levels. In Yom Kippur, we're the first level of Rasha ve-tovlo. Every time we sin, we can tell ourselves, I can do it. In the second time of this second level is every day by us. I am just too weak. To some things anyway. ועל זה אמרו רז"ל, and this is what the sages says. The sages, by the way, this is an interesting concept. The sages looked at this guy that we're just describing, which he says is us. I don't want to say he's us, but he says it's us. Yeah, and they say very good things about them. The sages praise them. How did they praise them? They say, Reshaim meleim charatot. It says, Reshaim are full of regrets. All day long, what do? They sin and regret. They sin and regret. They sin and regret. They do tshuva hundreds of times per day. Either real tshuva, like Yom Kippur tshuva, or at least thinking about that I should be a different person, tshuva. One of those tell Shem rova reshaim, and this is the majority of reshaim. Sheyesh behem b'chinat tov benafsham adayin. They have a little bit, they have good instinct. So there's two kinds of Rasha ve-tovlo. There's a Rasha ve-tovlo, what we call a serious guy. After he sins, he makes a decision never to sin again. He actually does make a decision. And he stands by it. But we both know that after 5-6 years, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen a long time from now. But it is going to happen. And there's a guy who doesn't even have the power to promise himself, I'm not going to do it. He doesn't, he can't. But he doesn't like himself. He says, I want to change. I want to do tshuva. And maybe on Yom Kippur, this guy is able to be on the same level as the other guy. So these are the two Rasha ve-tovlo. There's two levels of Rasha ve-tovlo. Let's call him Rasha ve-tovlo, who's serious, who when he sins, he does something about it. He takes it personally. he actually decides to change himself. Not necessarily he's going to succeed. But he does decide to. Think about how many times each and every one of us had an argument with the wife, and we promised we're not going to say this or we're not going to do that, and we do it again. But when we promise ourselves not to do it, we mean it. It just happens again. Yeah? We're not trying to. And there's some things that we should say, it's too powerful for me. I don't want to be the way I am, but this is who I am. Still, both levels are rasha ve-tovlo. Now we're going to get to a rasha vera. What's a rasha vera? How can you go more than this? So you can say maybe one is a killer and the other one is lashon hara, but that's not the difference. Because we said even lashon hara is the rasha ve-tovlo, if it comes again. So he's going to give us a definition of rasha vera. Achmi, but somebody she'eno mitcharet le'olam. He never regrets it. He sins and he doesn't have regret. Not even to the fact of his status. In other words, not only does he doesn't do tshuva, he actually sees nothing wrong with it.
Forgives himself.
No, if he forgives it, is that he forgives?
And I think it's 100%.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with what I did. That's the
80%
very good.
of the Israelis are
Very good. Let's not talk about Israelis. Let's talk about ourselves. How much of you can you find there? Look at it in yourself, not in other people.
You drive in Shabbat
Achmi,
and you think it's better than
yeah. Don't look at other Jews. Look at yourself. Find it within yourself.
no, within myself.
Okay.
you drive to
Or did you justify
No.
it to yourself?
whatever.
Justification is already good. It means you feel guilty. Over here, there's no guilt at all. אך מי שאינו מתחרט לעולם, but somebody who's not sorry ever, ואין ברים לו הרהורי תשובה. He doesn't even have thoughts of tshuva. Forget tshuva. He doesn't even say, oh, I should be better. Forget that I'm not going to put the work in it. Even the thought, I should be a better person, נקרא רשע ורע לו. This kind of person is called a rasha veralo. That's bad and bad to him. Let's just explain. A lot of people don't know. We're talking about status. Let me explain what I'm saying. This guy, I'm not a psychologist, I don't want to give names, and it's not exactly the same, but he's what you call a psychopath. You know, he can kill somebody and not feel guilty about it. Yeah. Whatever. That's what I said. I'm not a psychologist.
I just don't think
Yeah.
it's wrong.
Yeah.
Which is different than psychopath.
Whatever. Yeah. But let's take it to stage 4 more. A lot of people make a mistake. It is possible for a rasha ve-tovlo to sin hundreds of times more than a rasha veralo. It's not the amount or the quality of the sin. Because a rasha veralo doesn't have to sin. If he does sin, he doesn't feel regret. But actively, that doesn't mean that he has to sin constantly and every day. A rasha ve-tovlo theoretically can sin hundreds of times much more than a rasha veralo. We're not talking about the quantity. We're talking about the type of person he is. We say there's 5 types of person. There's a person who feels regret after sin, and there's a person who would not feel regret after sin. Yes?
Would it be safe to assume that one person doesn't believe in God and the other one maybe does?
No.
No, everybody believes in God in this case.
Yeah?
Everybody believes.
Or everybody doesn't believe in God. You can take both ways.
It's not related to belief in God.
It's not really. I believe in
Not necessarily, no. There might be, it might have some,
sin, you're going to feel some remorse, and your godly soul is going to say, if you don't believe in God, then there's no sin. I didn't do anything wrong.
do I believe in God? Do you think I believe in God?
Yeah.
I don't have regret after every sin. So some sins, I'll give you an example. Some things I'm happy about.
Now you're confused.
It feels good.
Now you're confused.
It feels good. Yeah? It's not necessary. Now, do I want to be better? I'll give you an example. To say a good joke and waste your time with a good joke, yeah, it makes me happy. I have a good joke, I'll lay it out there. I'll be happy. I know it's a waste of time. I know so what? So it makes me even hirur tshuva. I don't know, a tiny little bit. Do I want to be on a level that I wouldn't need to say it and to feel good about myself? Yes.
That's a sin, telling a joke?
And wasting time just for fun? Yes.
So having fun is a sin?
Yes. You know, I'll give you an example. There is no such word as fun in Hebrew.
There's no such word as fun in Hebrew. Yeah, I know. I've heard that before.
Do you know why? They use the English word, the Arabic word, kef. It comes from the Arabic. There's no word for fun in Hebrew. Fun is a food fight. You can have something satisfying. You can build a building. You can create music.
Fun have a food fight or not?
Fun is a food fight. Food fight is a sin. It's foolish. It's destroying food. It's not something constructive. In Hebrew, yeah, unless you're doing something constructive, yeah, and getting enjoyment out of it, yeah, it's a sin. It has to be a constructive act. Otherwise, it will be a sin.
So going to a Jewish comedian is forbidden.
It depends for what. For example, if a rabbi comes to shul and he sees everybody is upset and they all, it's okay to say a joke. Why? To lift their spirits up so they can listen to.
How did they hear the joke?
If it's a good enough joke, then it's okay. Yeah. For example.
Funny or fun or no? If your intent was to see someone.
No, then it's not fun. It's a constructive thing. Food fight. That's why I gave the example as food fight. Food fight has no inherent value. It's just destroying food. You know, our kids have a food fight and they throw at each other. There's no construct. They're not building anything. They're not doing it to make somebody happy. They're enjoying the fun of it. Going to Vegas. Think about going to Vegas or building a building. Or going to watch nature. Going to watch nature might be constructive. Going to Vegas, no, that's not constructive. You're not doing anything constructive. Yeah, but again, we'll discuss it much later in the Tanya, these two examples. ואין באים לו הרהורי תשובה כלל נקרא רשע ורע לו. So this guy that is never has הרהורי תשובה. Not even a thought about תשובה. He is called a רשע ורע לו. שהרע שבנפשו הוא לבדו נשאר בקרבו. Only the animal part of himself stays inside of him. כי גבר כל כך על הטוב, because the animal part consumed the godly part to such an extent, עד שנסתלק מקרבו, until the godly attribute of the person doesn't affect his body. It hovers around him. It's not entrenched inside the physical body anymore. In other words, it doesn't talk to the body. If it would talk to the body, that would be thinking about tshuva. But it doesn't even do that because it's so removed. It's so subdued. It's completely outside of the ego. The id is not felt.
So where is it with this goof thing or?
Don't think about physicality. Think about it within the soul. It's completely removed. You're not aware of it.
So your soul is out of your soul, or that?
You are not aware of your soul that's in you. You're not aware of it. Because you're so aware of the animal soul that you have no awareness of any godly soul. The other ones are so aware of the animal soul that they can sin. But they're still, the godly soul has also a talk. That's why they have regret. The godly soul is talking. Over here, there's nothing.
What about the Rasha?
Well, let me just one more line, and then we can say there's one more line here. ועומד בבחינת מקיף עליו, it is standing. It's called like hovering around him. It's there, but it's not there. מלמעלה. And this is what the sages says. Nevertheless, Akol Bei Asara, nevertheless, on any 10 Jews, even 10 complete Rashas, Shchinta Sharia, God dwells. God dwells on any 10 Jews. What do I mean? You've got 10 Jews who are sitting in a casino and they're just having a food fight. And there's ladies running around and they're getting drunk and gambling. God is there. Why? Even though these 10 Jews are not going to have regret. Because the godly soul is there. There's 10 godly souls right over there. And this is the importance of a minyan. Since we don't want to say what we might be, yeah, that's why a minyan is so important, because God will dwell inside the minyan even though the minyan is 10 sinners. By the way, the way we know a minyan is from the Torah, about the 10 spies. The 10 evil spies that talk Lashon Hara about the land are called Edah. And from that we learned about the concept of a minyan, that God dwells in and even on 10 sinners. These guys did tshuva, but even if the 10 Jews that are right now not doing tshuva are completely, the godly soul is completely entrenched from them. It's not even them. Even them, God dwells upon it. Yeah.
Well, a comment. 9 tzaddikim cannot do a kaddish.
Very good.
So it's
9 what?
9 tzaddikim.
Yeah.
You don't have a minyan for a kaddish.
Okay, yeah.
As a for example. But the question is, that's people like myself.
Mm-hmm.
That could be for certain things. If I upset Jerry, I feel really bad about it. I'm not polite to him.
Excellent question.
But on
So,
other things,
very good question. So I'll answer the question. So he's asking like this: you're going to find, if you're going to look deep inside in yourself, an example to all 5 levels. You're going to find an example of a Tzadik ve-tovlo. Hard, but you're going to find. You're going to find an example of a Rasha ve-tovlo. You're going to take an example of a Rasha vera. What we're talking about over here, it's true that for some things you are more than others. But there's what you really are. You can see it within yourself. There's a status where you usually dwell in.
that's why
Most of
10,000 is
the 10,000 also because of the levels. Yeah, it's how much?
Quality.
Yeah, quality. But you can see in yourself where we are. Now I'm coming to tell you something. You would assume after we learned about the Tzadik and about the Rasha, a Tzadik for sure I'm not. A Rasha ve-tovlo, maybe. To some things I regret. A Rasha vera, even that guy I can relate to in some things. So what do you want from my life? What am I supposed to do now? And over here, the next chapter, the Alter Rebbe is going to say a statement. It's a hard statement to even accept, to understand. It says, I have what you really are. You're not a Rasha vera. You're not a Rasha ve-tovlo. You're a Beinoni. Now, what is a Beinoni? I just say one word, one sentence about a Beinoni. A Beinoni is someone who struggles exactly like the Rasha vera, the Rasha ve-tovlo. He struggles. The struggle is exactly the same. There's no difference between them. They have the same. He just never fails. And when I say he never fails, not that he might fail. I'll give you an example about me. So just people will understand for next time. If you ask me, can you see yourself not putting on tefillin one day? I say, I can't. I can't imagine myself. I can't imagine myself, a day goes by, and me not putting on tefillin.
unless it's Shabbat.
Yeah, I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about when I'm supposed to. Yeah? I can't think about a time that I could put on tefillin, and maybe if I'm in an accident, but right now I can't think of such a thing. I can't. It doesn't.
You're Benoni when it comes to that.
Oh. But if you ask me, Rami, are you going to miss Mincha next year? Might miss Mincha next year? I can't tell you 100% I'm not going to miss Mincha. Am I sorry that I can't tell you? Yes. I'm sorry. But I can't make a promise. I should be able to make a promise, by the way.
But you could imagine missing one.
Oh. The fact that I can imagine missing one means I didn't do tshuva. That's what it means. See, tshuva means to accept of yourself, to be serious. In other words, I didn't even do tshuva. The fact that I know that I might mix next year, it's like telling your wife, I'm not sure I'm not going to beat you next year. What do you mean? I'm not sure. This is what we tell God. I'm not sure that I might beat you, God, next year. What do you mean you're not sure? When it comes to tefilling, I'm sure. When it comes to this, you're not sure. What does it even mean? It doesn't make sense if you think about it. Next week is going to tell us exactly what a Benoni is, and then you're going to think, but come on, really? That's what he expects me to be? And the entire book is going to be how to achieve to become that Benoni. From now on, we're going to discuss how an actual guy like us, a person like us with our powers, whatever we think about ourselves, is able to achieve it. And he's going to do it in a practical manner. He's going to give us all the downfalls, where you can fall, what you can fall, where, and he's going to give a solution for every downfall. In the end, you will know how to do it, and you will admit that it's not hard. It just takes dedication. It's not a hard process. It needs a process that one needs to dedicate himself to. Yes.
Just backing up a little bit, when we talk about the Russia that has no holy thoughts, that the Holy Spirit is kind of removed from them when they're 100%. So then I'm a little confused with the Shekhinah. This is over the 10 Jews. What's over that Russia? It's not the Shekhinah?
It is the same godly soul that all of us have. The one with regret. The only difference...
Different than the Shekhinah.
No, let's call it Shekhinah. Call it Shekhinah for now. There is a difference between them. The difference between, when you say the word Shekhinah means that it dwells on earth. By them it doesn't dwell on earth because it doesn't come to earth. It's just spiritually by them. But it doesn't actually affect them. That's why it's called Shekhinah.
And not to be controversial, but I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
So when it says on every gathering of 10 Jews,
Mhm.
Shekhinah rests. What about 10 men?
Same thing. 10 kids even.
The minion, I'm not going to go there, but
There is no difference. Absolutely. There is no difference between women. There's no difference between children. You can have 10 babies.
5 men, 5 women.
Even babies.
5 men, 5 women. They should not
10 Jews. That's what it says.
be a mix.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no Kaddish, but the Shekhinah is there.
But Shekhinah is in.
Yeah, Shekhinah is there, can say Kaddish.
So there's 10 Jews in Vegas sinning. What does that mean? I don't understand.
God,
If I go to Vegas, I shouldn't go with Jewish guys? I don't know what you...
you're taking God with you. You take, and we'll discuss this later on also, yeah.
So I don't understand.
You don't understand what? The 10 Jews, no matter
Hashem
what,
sees everything I do regardless. I don't understand.
Hashem sees, but Hashem doesn't dwell. There's a difference. Hashem sees everything. When we say, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. When there's 10 Jews who comes together, unified, and they ask God to go against one righteous person, God will listen to them more than to the righteous person. they have more godly energy to do bad than the one righteous person has to do good. Okay? And we'll see that later on.
Winning is a magical thing.
Not magical, it's practical. It's practical down here. This is the miracle of Hanukkah, by the way. Don't want to get into this. The miracle of Hanukkah is Rabim beyad me'atim, many in the hands of the few. Many in the hands of the few in Hanukkah, many people think that the many were the non-Jews. Incorrect. The many were the Hellenites, the many Jews that were against the few non-Jews. God has a rule. Jewish souls have power. Even if Jewish souls wants to sin, they have power. The miracle of Hanukkah is that God took away that rule for that second, for that war. Because ultimately the way it should work is that the many Jews, because they were unified and there were many, should have won the war. That was the miracle of Hanukkah, but some other time we'll get into that. Just that you know, Jews who are united even for bad have a certain power. Imagine if they're united for the good, how much power they would have. Much more than that even. So next week we're getting introduced to the Benini, what we are supposed